Hello, everyone. This is George Diaz, president and founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing, and I'm bringing you another episode of Transforming Small Business Thinking. Today, my guest is Francis Jones. Francis, how are you, sir?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good, good. And thank you for taking time out of what I know is a busy day. So Francis and I met because we're part of a network of people. We all work for Full Stack. I won't get into that. But he gave a presentation to our group on story branding. Now, I've heard of story branding. I attended an event where story branding had a big booth and they had spoken. And then I heard someone else, but it wasn't until he went over it in detail that I got it. And I really wanted to make that part of an episode because for those of you who are starting your copywriting and starting that kind of work, this is some really good information. So Francis, hopefully I haven't built you up too big.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to be here. Most businesses really struggle with trying to create a connection with their audience. They waste a lot of money on marketing. And what I do is I help people figure out, using the StoryBrand methodology, I help them figure out the messaging they need to use to create that deep connection, which drives sales in their business. And so what we know is that the human mind is wired for a couple things, George. And it's wired to conserve calories and to survive and thrive. If what you're telling me, like right now we're talking to your audience.
By the way, so again, you're jumping right into this and maybe, so you get into this neuro-linguistic stuff, which I think is exactly what I want to cover. But before you get there, so who is this for? Is this for like Joe, I own a hardware store? Or is it for online marketing people? I mean, who is it for? And why did you get into this to begin with?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I apologize. I get so excited about it.
No, and I'm going to hold you to it. You got to cover that stuff.
Yeah. So it's for anybody. It doesn't matter whether you're a mom and pop shop, a business owner who is starting out, or it's an established business. You have to figure out who your audience is. And so for me, I found real passion about it. I used to work with a company called Infusionsoft, and I was in there. I trained for years and years and years, and I developed a relationship with a guy named Don Miller, and his company was StoryBrand. And I really believed in what they were doing and what they were going through and how they were helping businesses. So when I left Infusionsoft, I reached back out to them and said, hey, I really want to be a part of what you're doing. And they had a certification program, a StoryBrand Certified Guide program. And I joined that program, and I've been doing that for the last year and a half. That's what I've built my business on. It's what I do to help my customers. And it's really been exciting. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking to customers or clients about what they're struggling with and how they connect with their audience.
Cool. So what is story branding? I mean, because it sounds cool. It's well branded as a brand.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. So what is StoryBrand? StoryBrand, Don Miller used to be a director, not a director, but a screenwriter in Hollywood for small budget films. And he created this process of developing a story. And now you and I both know that story has been the foundation of learning since the dawn of time.
Sure.
Like we learn through story. And this is nothing, what he has identified is not unique in the way the mind works, but what he's done is he's built a framework that helps us understand it a little bit better. And so this StoryBrand is a company that's been around for about 6 years now. And they have guides all over the world. They have customers all over the world that they help to create a framework that will connect them with their audience. And so,
right. And by the way, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because I do a lot of blogging. I write a lot. I focus on my brand a lot. And it takes a lot to catch my attention. But there was something very systematic. And, you said it's a process that I know just in the small time I had heard you, I can add some of this to my current copy and benefit from it. So keep going.
I hear that all the time, George. It's a really interesting thing is that when I first started getting into it, the community that I'm involved in with Infusionsoft, the certified partner community, people like yourself and some really accomplished people in that community, I was a little bit nervous when Don came to PartnerCon. You mentioned you saw their booth. because I thought, well, it's not going to resonate with them because they're already very successful. And what I've found is I have not talked to a single person, and I've talked to hundreds of people over the last couple of years, and not one of them said, I can't see what's to benefit me. I'm already doing this. There's no benefit. Most of them either are like, this is a brand new awakening, or they're like yourself that say, listen, I feel like I do a pretty good job with this, but if I just tweak it like this, incorporating this piece, I can make all the difference in my marketing. So people need to understand this isn't about a complete overhaul necessarily. It might be, like if you're someone who is focused in the wrong place, it might be an overhaul. But for a larger part of the community, it's really just about tweaking and about changing the focus. It's not about redoing everything. It's about refocusing what you already have. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so now get into what you were going to get to at the beginning, because I think this helps kind of ease into it and understand the context.
Yeah, that's great. And so what you and I were talking about a little earlier, and when we first started talking about me coming on your show today, was the idea that we have to flip our mindset. Most people, when they create their marketing and their messaging, are so anxious to prove that they're the person, that they're the man, they're the woman, they're the expert. They spend all of their emotional capital, all that time and energy focused on proving they're the one. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've worked with thousands of customers. I've got a process that is guaranteed to earn you millions. And what they fail to do in that initial 5-10 seconds of meeting a new client, whether it's face-to-face or online, is they fail to establish that they understand what that person is struggling with. They make this broad assumption that the person will know that I get you, and they just don't. Human beings have a favorite topic. Do you know what human beings' favorite topic is, George?
What is it?
Themselves. My favorite topic is that the sweetest word in the English language to me is Francis, right? We love to hear people talk about us because it helps them understand that they're engaged, that they get me, that they're interested in what I'm going through, that they that they want to help find a solution to the problem that I'm having. And so too many businesses they start in the wrong place. They start with a solution rather than showing their customers that they get what they're struggling with. And when we fail to do that, we lose them. We do. We have, statistics tell us we have 3 or 4 seconds. That's it. 3 or 4 seconds for us to buy a little bit more time. We look at this thing as a gateway that we're entering. Once we get past that 3 or 4 seconds, we're going to enter this big giant room, and then we have the freedom to move around this room and work with these people. It's not true. We have 4 or 5 seconds to get to the next door. And then we have 4 or 5 seconds to get to the next door, and 4 or 5 seconds. Now, eventually you're going to get into this big room where you establish this trust. And that's where you get your coaching clients, for instance, George. You have a coaching program that you offer people. Most people aren't going to go from, I don't know George, to buying his coaching program. What's going to happen is they look at your website, that's a door. They look at your landing page, that's a door. They watch a video, that's a door. They have a conversation, that's a door. And then it opens up into this broad room. But if we aren't on the right path, we're never going to get them. They're just going to back out and they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, because nobody's coming up, like in our case, nobody's looking for a Memberium membership site unless that's exactly what you're looking for.
Correct. That's correct.
They may have an issue with, I don't have enough hours in the day.
Right.
And I can only sell hours for dollars. So how am I going to, that's their problem initially.
Yeah.
Which is very different from a solution I can propose to them.
Right. And if they don't even know what the solution is and you start addressing the solution, they won't even know how to get where they're going. And right. So we end up throwing these solutions at them and saying, what you need is a membership site. I didn't even know how does that solve my problem? You haven't even shown me that you understand my problem. What you just said about hours in the day and trading dollars for time and all, I get that. That's me, right? As a client, I come to you and say, listen, you understand me. You're in my head. You get what I'm talking about. Then you can talk about how that solution that you have solves that problem. We have to open up that story loop. That's what I was mentioning before is the human brain is wired for 2 things, to conserve calories and to survive and thrive. And the conserve calories piece is we just have to make sure that people understand very, very quickly how we're going to help them. If I go to your website and I have to decipher all this detail, this data, it's a data dump. You'd be surprised at some of the websites that I go to. Actually, you probably wouldn't.
We build websites. So we've come up with things that's like, what do you do? I spent 20 minutes on your site and I
right.
can't tell.
And you're paid to be there. Like
Yep.
I used to do this presentation and I would say, listen, I bet you if I said I'll give you $10 if you can figure out what this company does, I've never had anyone take me up on it because it just burns too much intellectual capital. They don't want to spend the time. And it's an object lesson, but even in the object lesson, they're proving the point, because even when they're being told this is going to be difficult, we need you to try and decipher, they just don't have the emotional capital. They're like, I don't care. Just tell me. Just give me the answer. I just don't even care. And so we have to do a better job of creating that messaging so that we can show them how we can help them survive and thrive, which opens the door to the next piece, which is what happens next.
Right. So conserve energy is one. People, and it's not
Conserve calories. Yeah.
It's not that they're lazy. It's just that we're wired that way. Why am I going to work hard for something that I can get for free or not, or whatever.
Yeah, totally. And it's not even if they are lazy, that's who we're dealing with, right? We can't dictate to our audience who we want them to be. You know this as well as I do. If you're fine.
I'm sorry, we just had an interruption there. Go ahead, man.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine. You know as well as I do, when we're talking about this idea of conserving calories, we have to be able to show people really, really quickly and be able to show them how it's going to benefit them, right? It doesn't matter. We have two options when we create a product. We either need to create a product, or in this case, marketing that is so simple that people understand it, or we have to be okay with knowing we're going to lose people that don't understand what we're saying. So we either have to make it simple. Infusionsoft is there's a good example of that. They need to make it easier to use, or they need to market to clients who can understand the way it's currently built. Right. You can't have it both ways. You just can't do it. So I can't create marketing that's difficult to understand and then expect that I'm going to get everybody in the pool that I want. I need to create messaging that resonates with people at all walks. And again, I'm not talking about going outside of our target market.
Right. But no, but I mean, in your niche, it better be easy for the niche that you're after to understand what it is you're doing, and not to have to spend hours understanding it and working hard, because they just won't do it.
That's correct. And we have to understand, the bigger thing we have to understand is we have to get up our high horses. And it's unfortunate because we all live there sometimes. I don't care if my product is the best, if my service is the best. If I haven't got language that shows people that, if I don't have language that makes them want to buy that, I'm going to lose. People don't buy the best products and services. They buy the products and services that are marketed the best, that make the most sense to them. And you look at Apple, for instance. Listen, I'm an Apple guy. I've got an Apple Watch. I've got my earbuds. I've got my iPhone, right? I'm an Apple guy. Is Apple the best product out there? Is it flawless? Are there any? Oh, my battery dies in my phone all the time. I was having a hard time connecting my AirPods. My Mac is getting old, right? It's not the best product, but they've created messaging that resonates with people, and so people buy it. Now, Samsung people, same way, right? But there's arguments out there to be said that Samsung and Apple, neither of them have the best phone. There are lots of arguments that there's another, I think it's Google or whatever, Windows, whatever, there's another phone that's even better, but they haven't messaged it. They haven't packaged it in a way that it resonates with people, right? And so it's not about the best product or service. It's about who markets the best.
Right. So the second one, conserve energy. What's the other one then?
That is to help me survive and thrive. You need to be able to show me how your product or service is going to help me get ahead, or it's going to help me be better in life. Like if I look at your product or service and it doesn't help me, like I don't see that it's going to benefit me, then I'm not going to go any further with the product, right? I'm not a car guy, right? So I don't care about vehicles. So Mercedes, for instance. Mercedes can be as clear as possible in how good their vehicle is, but it's not going to help me get ahead because I don't care about cars. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so you have to create messaging that will help people understand how it's going to help them get ahead in life. People who make impulse buys, people who buy things they don't necessarily need, the marketer has proven to them how it helps them get ahead. Like you wear the right kind of clothes, you have the right kind of product, service. Apple does this very well with, having this prestige of the AirPods and the Mac and the phone and the watch and all this other stuff. It's about showing me how it's going to help me be better in my life. And if you can't do that, it just doesn't work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. So I got you. Okay, so let's get into the story branding. And I'm looking at the time. Why don't we do this? we're running out of time. Let me stop here, and we'll have a second episode. We'll really get into
great.
the intimate parts of the story brand, because I think it's worth really spending some time there. Now, if people want to reach you, Francis, how can they reach you if they want to find out more about story branding and what you do?
Well, my website is khjconsulting.net.
Okay.
So it's khjconsulting.net. And
Yeah,
I go through the process. I talk about what story branding is. What's that?
Yeah. We'll make sure to publish this with your link.
Yeah, great. So they'll learn about what story branding is. They'll learn about how I help my clients. The nice thing about StoryBrand is, and I'm not trying to undersell myself or talk myself out of a sale, but the story branding process is for all different kinds of people. Meaning, if you're someone that wants to do it yourself, great. Don't hire someone. Do it yourself. I just want you to do it. The tools are out there, right? And so when you come to my website, you'll have access to the tools that you need to be able to do this yourself if you want to do it yourself. If you don't, then you should talk to someone. And there's a link on my site that says, schedule some time with me. It's a 30-minute consultation. I'm happy to talk with you about what you're going through, what you need, and all that other stuff. But it's really about them. I really want your listeners to get what they need to be successful, whether that's with help from someone like me, or that's just do it themselves, just a swift kick in the pants, that they finally get that it's something that they need to be doing.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you. And then we'll continue in the next episode. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thanks for letting me come.